Let's learn how to play one of the best Mexican boleros of all time by learning just the melody. Then we're going to add bass notes to that melody. Then we're going to add chords to that. And depending on what skill level you're at, you can mix and match how you like so that you'll have your own solo arrangement of Quizás, Quizás, Quizás. All right, this song is in the key of E minor. We're going to see the usual suspects of a 1, 4, 5 chord progression. And then in the B section, it goes to the parallel major key of E major, but it's just a 1 to a 5 progression there, which would be an E major chord and a B7 chord. Before we do the melody of the A section, let's look at one way that we can do a bolero rhythm. The kind of textbook but still cool way to do a bolero would be like this. Let's go 1, triplet, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So we'll slap on the 3 and the 4, 3, 4. In between we can do an upstroke, 3, and 4, and. And before that, the first half of the measure is 1, triplet, 2. So we've got 1, triplet, 2, and 3, and 4, and. You can achieve that triplet any way that you like, but I'm going like this. Pinky, ring, middle, index. That is a 4-stroke rasgueo, which very often is a triplet into a downbeat. So we're starting before the beat, and then we go da-da-ding into the beat, like this. It could be 8th note triplets, like 1 and 2, or there could be 16th note triplets if you wait a little bit longer before you do them, and that would be like 1, like that. I think it might sound more bolero-ish to do 8th note triplets, so they're a little more distinct that way. 1, triplet, 2, and 3, and 4, and. You hear that bolero rhythm a lot in surf music, like in Miser Lou. Or the theme to Endless Summer. So you don't have to slap all the time, those are just some good places to do it. Okay, here's the melody to the A section. We're in the key of E minor, and we do this. So we're playing the B string open, open, 2nd fret, 4th fret. That's a C sharp note and a D sharp note. You might be thinking, well, C sharp and D sharp are not in the key of E minor. That's the melodic minor scale happening right there. Very common intro in a lot of Latin songs. Okay, so 0, 2, 4, then high E string, open. 2nd fret is F sharp, then a G natural, and then open again. And those are called pickup notes. They're going into the first full measure. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. 5th fret A, and then we have something that we see in a lot of these Mexican boleros, like in Bésame Mucho comes to mind, where we go. And that is quarter note triplet. So those are kind of weird. We're going da, da, da. So 2nd fret F sharp, 5th fret A, and back again. So 2nd fret, 5th fret, 2nd. Back to the 3rd fret, open. A again. Up to high B here with your pinky, then back to G, but this time with your first finger because we had to change position. And now here's kind of the hook of the song when we say Quizás, Quizás, Quizás. We're going. Okay, open E to G on the 3rd fret, then we go F sharp, D sharp, that's the harmonic minor scale now. That's D sharp, 4th fret of the B string to high E. Now here is a perfect time to do our bolero rhythm, even though we're just looking at the melody, but there's no melody right here. It's just kind of a space for us to begin again. So we'll go like this. Stopping there on the first beat and then killing it for a dramatic pause right there. Okay, that's the melody of the A section, pretty simple. Let's look at the chords now. We have an E minor chord, then an A minor, but I like to play an A minor 6 chord. Sounds a little more jazzy and not uncommon at all to hear in those Latin songs. Even on the 1 chord, but this is the 4 chord. Then we're gonna go back to E minor, and again to an A minor of any kind that you wanna play. I'm playing A minor 6. Then back to E minor again, and then for that hook at the end, we go E minor, B7, with these really solid rests right there. You've got to really kill it quickly. Then E minor again. E minor, B7, E minor. So if we were going to play just the chords, we would have this. Again, I'm playing that rhythm that I showed you at the beginning, but you can play it any way that you want. Now let's look at the B section melody and chords. This is really simple. We're going open strings, the open B string to the open E string. Okay, that was the 2nd fret, C sharp. Now we're in the key of E major now, so there's 4 sharps. So C sharp and D sharp are actually in the key, and they're not weird like they may have been to you in the beginning of the A section. D sharp to A there. Okay, that was the high E string, D sharp, A on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Then D sharp on the 4th fret, C sharp on the 2nd fret, and then go to G sharp, which you probably guess is part of the E chord. Now the chords to the B section are pretty simple, E major and B7. It's a 5 to a 1 progression, so we'll start on B7 and resolve to E major a few times. Now let's go back to the beginning and play the melody, not with the chords yet, but just the root note of each chord. So we have our intro, which those are pickup notes, right? There's no chord at that moment. But when we get to this G, that's where E minor comes in, so we'll just play the low E string right there. Now we have A as the next note, and A in the bass, it's an A minor chord there. Now B, here we have to do this, our little triplet there, so we might want to bar this. Okay, try to play these at the same time. B here and F sharp up here. If you don't like that bar, we can go like this. It's a worse stretch though if you do that. So I'm gonna bar it. E minor again, so we'll play the low E string. A. E minor, low E string. Kill all the strings. Now, and again I did the full chord there because there's no melody. By the way, on these melodies, I'm playing index and middle rest strokes, otherwise known as picado technique. If you want to go more in-depth on this song and other songs like it, you can get all my courses and all my tabs, all my play-along videos, and my community over at theversatileguitarist.com/membership. Okay, let's look now at the B section, melody with just the root note of each chord. So again, we have pickup notes just like the beginning of the song, which is this. And we have the D sharp, and it's a B7 chord, so we're going to play B and D sharp at the same time. Now you might be tempted to use this finger, that's fine, but in a minute we're going to try to cram the chord in there too. So I would suggest, see if you can give this finger a shot. We're going to go, remember A note was the end of that phrase, so we go. Now C sharp is a melody note over that E chord. That's not uncommon to hear in some of the old-timey jazz stuff, and certainly in those Latin tunes. An E major 6th chord, right? If we're playing the major scale, go to the 6th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Add that note to a major chord, and you have kind of a cool old-timey sounding chord. Nice chord. So that's what they're getting at here with the melody. It's actually happening in the song, built into the melody. And then G sharp. Now right there, you might be tempted to strum because there's no melody, so that's a perfect time to do that. We're just trying to be simple right now. Depending on what your level's at, we'll make it more complicated in a minute. But if there's nothing happening in the melody and you already know what the chord is, just strum the chord. There you saw me play the bass note more times in the measure, because why not? Played it twice there. Okay, but you might be thinking, well, that sounds a little bit monotonous, and this takes me exactly to where I want to go next, which is adding more notes from the chord. So I know we're still on the B section. We'll go to the A section in a second, but check this out. So I'm alternating the bass here. If you know where the root is, you always can go to the ceiling. I'm assuming you're on the bass strings and that you're in standard tuning. If we have the root of a chord, I'll pick a random note here. If you know where the root is to a chord, whether it's a major chord or a minor chord, not a chord with a flat 5 in it, go to the ceiling, and that is a perfect fifth. So you always can do this. And And that's good to know when you're putting together chord melodies, because we want to mix things up if we can. So if we had B as the root note to a B7 chord, we can go to the ceiling and F sharp. Even if you don't know the name of the note, we want to know that that note is in the chord and it's a kosher note for us to play in this chord. So we can go root, fifth, root, fifth. And here, I played the fifth of an E chord, which is already in the chord. If you're fingering the whole chord like I am for that E chord, any note that you have placed obviously is in the chord, so you can toggle your thumb around here and just kind of mix up the bass note, alternate it so that things sound a little more dynamic. Okay, we're still on the B section, but let's add more of the chord there. So like I said earlier, we're shooting for using these fingers so that maybe we can try to do this. Now this is a big stretch. You might want to try this with a capo on if this is too much of a stretch for you. But look, we have B7 and then stretch out here to D sharp. If you're blocking the first string, that's okay, because we actually would want F sharp to be there, but our pinky's occupied, so we probably don't want to play the first string anyway. See that? So I toggle the bass there. Kind of tricky to get that down. Leave these two down, the ring and the index, and we're really just taking these on and off, and this is alternating again. So go. Now here, drag the pinky down. We normally wouldn't do that, right? But I'm just anticipating that we're going to play the full E chord in a second. So we go. I took the pinky off there just because that's the strumming time, but you could leave it on if you wanted to. Okay, the B section always repeats back to the A. This is in binary form. We got the A section, the B section, and the A, and it's always going to go in the order of A, B, A. So here we are back at the A section, trying to add more of the chord. Okay, right off the bat there, instead of playing that high G note melody with a low E string only, I'm playing these three together because that's in the E minor chord. In fact, there's an E minor chord built into the guitar on the treble strings. So we can go like this. As the low E string and the trebles with that high G, and then take this index over here to a B note, because we know that that's in an E minor chord, right? And then there I'm toggling the bass just like we were doing in the B section. So I'm going low E to B. Now here we have the two A notes that we had before, but try to finger this thing and see if you can get, especially that F sharp in there. You might have to roll it. There's more strings here than we have fingers in the right hand. I'm excluding the pinky because the pinky's just too hard to use, right? Unless we're doing that. So you might take your thumb and just roll it over these two strings like that, or you could just strum the whole thing with your thumb, for example. Now here we're going to take this ring finger, go down one fret, bar it on the second fret, and we're going to play now B7. Here's one way to play B7 like we did earlier, but we also can play it this way, which we could say is the A form, but we're going to do it like this so that we can have our pinky here for the melody, but we're not even going to play this string, so this one gets to come off. See, there's our quarter note triplet. Back to the E minor chord, toggle the bass. What I like to do here is go like this. I like to do that sometimes. Just a little embellishment there. I'm going hammering on a G from an F sharp. But if you can't do that, not a big deal. Got a high B note with a low E string, and again, those treble strings. Now here we can go and grab that block chord again, kill all the strings as quickly as you can. Now these songs very often end with a tag ending, where like in Bésame Mucho we go. And again, just kind of just driving the point home of that final phrase. Here we'll do the same thing, but I like to go like this. So we can do do it the normal way a couple times. Now I'm going to go octaves here. I've got my pinky on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, index finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and bring it up 3 frets. It's the same notes, it just sounds a little bit different. I love octaves. Cool way to beef up the melody a little bit. So we're going, and then play the high E string instead of going back to this octave. And then 1st fret to the 4th fret. Just a little ending I made up. You can do anything that you like. You should really experiment with that. I'm playing the 2nd fret, pulling off the D sharp, B, and then going down the E minor scale, G to F sharp to E. And this is a great chord. You could also end it with the James Bond chord. Songs like this are so great, they're so fun to play, and there's just only one tiny example of all the awesome things we can play on nylon string guitar. And now check out this video where I give you the same treatment on Bésame Mucho.